The alarm bells rang through the massive ship called Stellar Dominion as Commander Zethkar studied the data on his screen with growing concern. 3 days ago, the mining colony on planet Kepler 442b had stopped sending their daily reports to the Galactic Council, and now there was complete silence. From the human settlement that housed 847 people working on mineral extraction operations, Commander Zethkar was a tall, blue-skinned Valian with 4 arms and eyes that glowed red when he was worried, which they were, right now. He had been chosen to lead this rescue mission because the Valians were known across the galaxy as the best military force available. His crew consisted of the smartest beings from 4 different alien species who all worked together under the Galactic Council. Standing next to him was Veltar, the Xerion scientist whose gray, metallic skin reflected the ship lights as his large brain processed information faster than any computer. The Xerions were famous for being able to solve any problem through pure logic and analysis. On the other side stood Captain Morath from the Corvani species who had green scales and was known for being able to talk peacefully with any life form in the galaxy. Near the engineering station worked Chief Bractos the Mithrin, whose people built the best technology in known space. His thick, rocky skin made him look like a walking mountain, but his hands could fix anything mechanical with incredible skill that other species could only dream of having. All 4 aliens stared at the data coming from their long-range sensors as their ship approached the human colony planet. What they saw made no sense to any of them, because the readings showed that the main human settlement had been completely destroyed. There were no life signs detected in the area where the colony. Buildings used to stand. Commander Zethkar had seen this kind of destruction pattern before, and it made his blood run cold with fear. The damage looked exactly like what happened when Ravagers attacked a planet. Ravagers were the most dangerous species in the galaxy because they traveled in huge swarms that could eat entire worlds until nothing was left but bare rock, the insect-like. Ravagers had destroyed hundreds of planets over the past 1,000 years, and no military force had ever been able to stop them once they started feeding. They moved like a plague across space, consuming everything organic they found and growing stronger with each world they devoured. Veltar adjusted his scanning equipment and spoke in his mechanical voice that never showed emotion. The Xerion confirmed that the settlement showed signs of Ravager attack patterns, including the specific way buildings were torn apart and the complete absence of any organic matter in the area. Captain Morath tried to stay hopeful, as was typical for her diplomatic nature. She suggested that maybe some humans had escaped to other parts of the planet before the attack happened. The Corvani species always believed that peaceful solutions could be found even in the worst situations. Chief Bractos ran deeper scans with his advanced Mithrin technology and found something that surprised everyone on the bridge. His equipment detected a single human life sign located 200 kilometers away from the destroyed settlement in the mountainous region of the planet. The 4 aliens looked at each other with confusion because this discovery made no sense, according to everything they knew about Ravager attacks. When Ravagers came to a planet, they hunted down every living thing until nothing remained alive. No single person had ever survived a full Ravager swarm attack in recorded galactic history, Commander. Zethkar wondered how one human could still be alive when an entire colony of over 800 people had been killed. Veltar calculated that the odds of survival were so small that his computer could not even display the number properly. The crew debated what they should do next, because approaching a planet with active Ravagers was extremely dangerous even for a military ship like Stellar Dominion. Captain Morath argued that they had a duty to rescue any survivor, no matter how dangerous the situation became. Chief Bractos checked his weapon systems and confirmed that their ship had enough firepower to fight off small groups of Ravagers, but not a full swarm. If too many of the creatures were still on the planet, their rescue mission could become a suicide mission. Commander Zethkar made the decision that would change everything for the galactic understanding of humans. He ordered his crew to land near the human life sign so they could attempt a rescue operation. The Valian commander had fought in many battles, but something told him this mission would be different from anything he had experienced before, as Their ship descended through the planet atmosphere toward the mountainous region where their scanners detected the lone human survivor. All four aliens wondered what kind of person could survive when hundreds of others had died. None of them could imagine what they were about to discover about human nature and the incredible things that one determined person could accomplish when fighting for survival against impossible odds. The landing was smooth, and Chief Bractos prepared his equipment while the others gathered their rescue gear, not knowing they were about to meet someone who would change how the entire galaxy viewed the human species forever. The alien rescue team walked carefully across the rocky terrain toward the life sign their scanners had detected, while keeping their weapons ready in case any Ravagers were still in the area. Commander Zethkar led the group with his 4 arms, holding different scanning devices while his red eyes searched for any sign of movement among the mountain rocks. Veltar, the Xerion scientist, kept running detailed scans with his advanced equipment, trying to understand how one human could be alive in this dangerous place. His logical mind could not process how a single person had survived when an entire colony of trained miners and security personnel had been wiped out by the Ravager swarm captain. Morath used her diplomatic training to prepare for first contact with what might be a traumatized survivor who could be in shock from witnessing the destruction of his home and the death of everyone he knew. The green-scaled Corvani had experience helping survivors from many different species. Chief Bractos carried heavy rescue equipment and medical supplies, while his rocky Mithrin body easily handled the weight that would crush most other life forms. His people were always ready to help with any technical problems they might encounter during rescue operations. As they approached a cluster of large boulders near the detected life sign, the 4 aliens suddenly heard a human voice call out from somewhere above them. The voice sounded calm and alert, which surprised them because they expected to find someone hiding in fear. Jake Sullivan appeared from what looked like solid rock, but was actually a carefully hidden entrance to a cave system that had been modified with mining equipment. The 34-year-old human from Colorado looked at the alien rescue team with bright eyes that showed no fear, only curiosity about who had come to his mountain home. He was dressed in work clothes that had been patched many times and carried tools that the aliens recognized as standard mining equipment, but which had been changed in ways they did not understand. His brown hair was longer than normal, and his face showed the effects of weeks spent living outdoors. Commander Zethkar spoke first, using the universal translator that all Galactic Council ships carried to communicate with different species. He explained that they had come from the Galactic Council after the colony stopped sending reports, and asked if Jake was the only survivor from the Ravager attack. Jake nodded and confirmed that the attack had started 6 weeks ago when the insect creatures came from space in huge numbers that blocked out the sun. Most of the colonists had been caught off guard because the settlement security systems were not designed to handle such a massive assault from an unknown enemy. The human explained that he had been working in the outer mining areas when the attack began and managed to escape to the mountains with basic supplies before the Ravagers could hunt him down. He had been living in these caves ever since, while the creatures destroyed everything else on the planet. Veltar asked logical questions about how Jake had managed to avoid detection by the Ravagers for so long, because their species was known for being excellent hunters who could track any life form across great distances. The Xerion scientist wanted to understand the survival methods this human had developed. Jake smiled and offered to show them his home, which made the aliens follow him through the hidden cave entrance into a network of tunnels that took their breath away. The human had spent 6 weeks turning natural caves into a sophisticated living space using salvaged mining equipment and incredible creativity. The cave system had multiple levels connected by tunnels that Jake had carved himself using mining tools. He had created areas for sleeping, eating, and working along with storage spaces for supplies he had gathered from the destroyed colony. Most impressive were the defensive positions he had built at key points throughout the tunnel network, Captain. Morath was amazed at the engineering work Jake had accomplished in such a short time, using only basic tools and salvaged materials. The diplomatic Corvani had never seen such resourceful adaptation to a hostile environment by any species in the galaxy. Chief Braktos examined the technical modifications Jake had made to the cave system and found them to be surprisingly sophisticated for someone with only mining experience. The human had created air circulation systems, water collection methods, and even early warning devices using equipment from the destroyed settlement. Jake led them to his workshop area, where he had been building tools and weapons from scavenged materials. The alien saw that he had created everything he needed to survive in this harsh environment while staying hidden from the dangerous creatures that ruled the planet's surface. Commander Zethkar asked about Jake's plans for long-term survival because, even with his impressive cave system, he could not stay hidden forever. The Valian military commander wanted to know if the human had considered trying to signal for rescue or escape from the planet. Jake's response surprised all four aliens because he calmly explained that he had not been hiding from the Ravagers but had been actively hunting them. He had spent the past weeks learning about their behavior patterns and had developed methods for fighting back against creatures that the entire galaxy feared. Veltar brain could barely process this information because no individual from any known species had ever successfully fought Ravagers on their own. The logical Xerion asked for proof of these claims because they seemed impossible according to all scientific data about the insect creatures. Jake smiled again and offered to show them evidence of his hunting activities, which would prove that one determined human could accomplish things that advanced alien civilizations thought were completely impossible. The rescue mission was about to become something much more important than anyone had imagined when they first detected that single life sign in the mountains. Jake led the stunned alien rescue team deeper into his cave system, through tunnels that became more sophisticated as they moved away from the main entrance. The walls showed clear signs of careful planning and engineering work that impressed. Even Chief Braktos, who had seen the best Mithran construction techniques across the galaxy. The human stopped at a heavy door made from salvaged metal plates that he had welded together using mining equipment. He opened multiple locks that he had crafted by hand and gestured for the aliens to follow him into what he called his workshop, but looked more like a research laboratory. Commander Zethkar's eyes glowed bright red with amazement as he saw the contents of the large cave room that Jake had turned into a center for studying and fighting Ravagers. The walls were covered with detailed drawings and notes about the insect creatures, along with samples of their body parts and technology. Veltar's logical mind struggled to process what he was seeing because the workspace contained more detailed information about Ravager biology than existed in all the scientific databases of the Galactic Council combined. Jake had somehow gathered and analyzed data that the most advanced civilizations had never been able to collect. The human had created detailed charts showing Ravager movement patterns, feeding habits, and communication methods using observation, skills that would make professional xenobiologists jealous. His notes were written in simple human language, but contained insights that had escaped the greatest scientific minds in the galaxy. Captain Morath examined the wall displays with growing respect for human intelligence and determination. The diplomatic Corvani realized that Jake had not just survived the Ravager attack, but had turned his desperate situation into an opportunity to learn everything possible about his enemies. Jake explained that during his first week in the caves, he had captured several Ravager scouts who had been searching for him in the mountain areas. Instead of just killing them for food, he had decided to study them carefully to understand how they worked as individual creatures, and as part of the larger swarm, Chief Braktos was amazed by the improvised laboratory equipment that Jake had built. Using mining tools and salvaged electronics from the destroyed colony, the human had created devices for testing Ravager body chemistry, analyzing their communication signals, and even growing samples of their tissue for study. The workshop contained over 50 dead Ravagers in various stages of dissection, along with detailed notes about their internal organs, nervous systems, and the biomechanical implants that connected them to the hive mind. Jake had discovered weaknesses in their biology that no other species had ever found. Veltar asked how Jake had managed to capture live Ravagers for study when these creatures were considered the most dangerous predators in known space. The Xerion scientist wanted to understand the methods this human had developed for fighting creatures that advanced armies could not defeat. Jake smiled and showed them his collection of improvised weapons and traps that he had built using mining. Explosives, chemical compounds from the colony laboratories, and mechanical parts from destroyed equipment. Each device was specifically designed to exploit the weaknesses he had discovered in Ravager biology. The human had learned that Ravagers used pheromone trails to communicate with each other and coordinate their hunting activities. By studying these chemical signals, Jake had figured out how to create false trails that would lead groups of Ravagers into carefully prepared ambush locations. Commander Zethkar examined the trap mechanisms that Jake had placed throughout the cave system and realized that the human had created a fortress that could defend against attacks from creatures that had destroyed entire planetary defense forces. The engineering was simple, but incredibly effective. Jake explained that he had killed over 200 individual Ravagers during his 6 weeks in the mountains, using tactics that combined human creativity with detailed knowledge of enemy weaknesses. He had turned the caves into a hunting ground where he held every advantage. Captain Morath asked about the psychological effects of living alone while constantly fighting for survival against such dangerous enemies. She was concerned that the isolation and stress might have affected Jake's mental state in ways that could be dangerous. The human laughed and assured her that he felt better than he had in years because he finally had a clear purpose and was making real progress against enemies that threatened not just his own life but the safety of every peaceful species in the galaxy Veltar. Logical mind was overwhelmed by the implications of what Jake had accomplished, because it meant that individual humans might be capable of fighting Ravagers more effectively than large military forces. The scientific revolution this represented could change everything about galactic defense strategies. Chief Braktos tested some of Jake's improvised weapons and found them to be remarkably effective despite being built with basic tools and limited materials. The Mithrin engineer realized that human creativity combined with determination could overcome almost any technical limitation. Jake revealed that his activities had not gone unnoticed by the Ravager hive mind, which had begun sending larger and more intelligent hunting parties to eliminate the persistent threat he represented. The creatures were adapting to his tactics, which meant he needed to constantly develop new methods for fighting. Then Commander Zethkar realized that they were not just witnessing human survival capabilities, but were seeing evidence of something that could revolutionize the galactic approach to fighting Ravagers. One human with basic tools had accomplished more than armies with advanced technology. The aliens began to understand that Jake was not just a survivor waiting for rescue, but was an active combatant who had turned a desperate situation into a successful military campaign against the most feared species in the galaxy, using nothing but human ingenuity and determination. Jake was showing the alien rescue team his latest trap designs when the cave system suddenly filled with the sound of alarm bells that he had rigged throughout the tunnels. His early warning system was detecting movement from multiple directions. As a large force of Ravagers approached his mountain fortress, Commander Zethkar's red eyes blazed with battle readiness as his 4 arms grabbed weapons, while Jake calmly moved to a control panel he had built from salvaged mining equipment. The human began activating defensive systems that the aliens had not even noticed during their tour of the cave. Complex Veltar scanner showed over 300 Ravagers moving up the mountain slopes in coordinated attack formations that demonstrated intelligence far beyond what the creatures normally displayed. The Zerion scientist realized that the hive mind had finally decided to eliminate the persistent human threat with overwhelming force. Captain Morath tried to establish communication with their ship to call for emergency evacuation, but Jake stopped her with a calm smile. The human explained that running away would only delay the inevitable because Ravagers never gave up once they identified a target that needed to be eliminated. Chief Braktos checked his heavy weapons and prepared to make a defensive stand in the workshop area. But Jake had different plans that would show the aliens what human tactical thinking could accomplish when combined with detailed knowledge of enemy behavior patterns. The human led them through passages that connected to observation, posts he had carved into the mountain rock where they could watch the approaching Ravager forces without being detected. The aliens saw hundreds of insect creatures moving with military precision that proved this was no random hunting party. Jake explained that he had been expecting this major assault for several days because his recent activities had finally forced the hive mind to recognize him as a serious threat that required elimination. The creatures had stopped underestimating human capabilities and were bringing their best hunters. Commander Zethkar asked about evacuation routes because fighting so many Ravagers seemed impossible even with the defensive advantages that Jake had built into his cave system. The Valian military commander had never seen anyone remain calm when facing such overwhelming odds. The human activated hidden weapon systems that he had placed throughout the mountain area using mining explosives and automated triggers that would channel the attacking forces into kill zones where his traps would be most effective. His preparation had been thorough and deadly. Veltar watched in amazement as Jake coordinated the defense using communication equipment that connected every part of his cave fortress. The human had created a command center that would be impressive in any military installation, but was incredible for something built by one person using salvaged materials. The first wave of Ravagers triggered explosive charges that Jake had placed along the main approach routes, causing rock slides that blocked several passages while funneling the remaining attackers into areas where he held maximum advantage. The coordination showed military planning skills that surprised the aliens. Captain Morath received an incoming message on her communication device and discovered that another human survivor was trying to contact them from a different location on the planet. The signal was weak, but clearly coming from someone who had also survived the colony destruction. Jake smiled when he heard the transmission because he recognized the voice of Lisa Monroe, who had been the security captain for the mining colony before the Ravager attack. He explained that Lisa had been conducting her own survival campaign from a hidden bunker near the destroyed settlement. The aliens realized that there were actually two humans who had survived the devastating attack, and both had been fighting back against the Ravagers instead of just hiding and waiting for rescue. This discovery changed their understanding of human nature and survival capabilities. Lisa's signal became stronger as she approached Jake's position using underground tunnels that connected the mining areas to the mountain caves. She had been moving through the tunnel system while avoiding Ravager patrols and had finally reached the area where the major battle was about to begin. Commander Zethkar coordination improved dramatically when Lisa arrived with 12 other colonists, who had been hiding in a reinforced shelter that she had been using as a base for guerrilla operations against the Ravager occupation forces. The rescue mission had suddenly become a military operation. Lisa Monroe was a tall woman with short blonde hair and military training that showed in every movement she made while deploying her people to defensive positions throughout Jake's cave system. Her experience with colony security made her the perfect partner for Jake's unconventional warfare tactics. Chief Braktos was impressed by the additional weapons and equipment that Lisa Group brought with them, including military-grade explosives and communication gear that had been saved from the colony security office before the Ravagers could destroy everything. Veltar's logical mind was fascinated by how the two human leaders coordinated their forces without any formal command structure, but with perfect understanding of each other's capabilities and tactical preferences. The cooperation showed intelligence that rivaled the best military teams in the galaxy. The combined human and alien force prepared for battle, while Jake and Lisa explained their plan for not just surviving the current attack, but for eliminating the entire Ravager presence on the planet. Their strategy was so ambitious that it made the alien rescue team question everything they thought they knew about human limitations. Captain Morath realized that these humans were not thinking about escape or survival, but were planning to win a complete victory against enemies that had destroyed entire civilizations. The diplomatic implications of human military potential were staggering for the galactic community. As the Ravager assault forces reached the outer defenses of Jake Mountain Fortress, the aliens prepared to witness human warfare capabilities that would change the balance of power throughout the galaxy forever. The battle raged through the night as Jake and Lisa coordinated their combined forces against wave after wave of Ravager attackers who seemed determined to eliminate the human threat no matter what the cost in casualties. The aliens fought alongside the humans and learned that human tactical thinking was unlike anything they had experienced. Commander Zethkar discovered that humans did not follow the standard military doctrines that most galactic species used in combat situations. Instead of defensive positions and calculated retreats, Jake and Lisa used aggressive counterattacks and improvised strategies that kept the Ravagers constantly off balance. Veltar's analytical mind was overwhelmed by the creative solutions that humans developed during the heat of battle when normal tactics failed to work against enemy adaptations. The Xerion scientist watched Jake modify his trap systems in real time to counter new Ravager behaviors. Captain Marath served as communications coordinator between the human leaders and her alien teammates, while marveling at how quickly the humans adapted their plans when unexpected situations developed during the fighting. Their flexibility was beyond anything in her diplomatic experience. Chief Braktos worked with Lisa to set up heavy weapons positions using a combination of Mithran technology and human improvisation that created defensive capabilities neither species could have achieved alone. The engineering partnership produced results that amazed both participants as dawn broke over the mountain battlefield. The aliens counted over 400 dead Ravagers scattered around Jake Fortress, while the defending force had suffered only minor injuries. The human tactical approach had achieved results that seemed impossible according to standard military analysis. Jake gathered his allies in the main cave chamber and announced that the time had come to implement the plan that he and Lisa had been developing for weeks. Their proposal was so audacious that it made the battle they had just won seem like a minor skirmish. Lisa spread out detailed maps of the mining complex that showed the locations of industrial equipment that could be converted into weapons capable of attacking the massive Ravager hive ship that controlled all the creatures on the planet. Her security training had taught her to think in terms of large-scale operations. The humans explained that they had been studying the hive ship movements and had discovered that it followed predictable patterns while scanning for mineral deposits that the Ravagers could consume to fuel their biological processes. This routine created a vulnerability that could be exploited. Jake had calculated that the main mining shaft could be rigged with enough explosives to create seismic activity that would destabilize the hive ship hovering systems when it moved into position above the richest mineral deposits. The engineering challenges were enormous but not impossible. Commander Zethkar pointed out that no military force in galactic history had ever successfully attacked a Ravager hive ship because these fortress vessels were protected by thousands of warrior drones and advanced biomechanical technology that could destroy entire fleets. Veltar ran probability calculations on his advanced computer systems and determined that the human plan had less than a 5% chance of success, even under the best possible conditions. The logical Xerion recommended evacuation instead of attempting such a dangerous mission. Captain Marath worried about the diplomatic implications if humans attempted to destroy a Ravager hive ship and failed because the retaliation could result in attacks on Earth and other human colonies throughout the galaxy. The risks seemed to outweigh any possible benefits. Chief Braktos examined the technical specifications for the mining equipment and admitted that the explosive potential was sufficient to create the seismic effects that Jake had calculated, but questioned whether the timing could be coordinated precisely enough to work. Lisa responded to their concerns by revealing that she and Jake had spent weeks preparing backup plans that used the planet unstable magnetic field and the mining operation industrial fusion reactors to create multiple ways of damaging the hive ship, even if the primary plan failed. Jake showed them detailed surveillance data that he had gathered about Ravager, drone patrol patterns, and the precise timing of the hive ship scanning cycles. His observations had revealed weaknesses in their security procedures that could be exploited by a small, fast-moving assault team. The aliens began to realize that these humans were not planning a desperate last stand, but had developed a comprehensive military strategy that addressed every aspect of the operation, including escape routes and contingency plans for various failure scenarios. Commander Zethkar made the decision that would later be remembered as the turning point in galactic military history when he agreed to support the human plan with the advanced technology and firepower of his rescue ship. The Valian commander had never seen such determination and tactical brilliance. Veltar logical analysis concluded that human unpredictability might be exactly what was needed to succeed against an enemy that had adapted to counter every conventional military approach used by galactic civilizations. Sometimes logic required accepting illogical possibilities. Captain Morath realized that the diplomatic benefits of a successful operation would revolutionize human status in the galactic community, while failure would only confirm what everyone already believed about Ravager invincibility. The potential gains justified the enormous risks. Chief Braktos began modifying his equipment to work with human mining technology, while marveling at how two species with completely different engineering approaches could combine their capabilities to create something neither could build alone. The planning session continued for hours as humans and aliens worked together to refine every detail of an operation that would either make history or result in their complete destruction at the hands of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The final assault began at dawn when Jake and Lisa led their combined human and alien force toward the mining complex where the massive Ravager hive ship hovered above the richest mineral deposits, just as their surveillance data had predicted. The timing had to be perfect, or everyone would die. Commander Zethkar had never felt such tension during a military operation because everything depended on the unconventional tactics that humans used, instead of the proven strategies that Valian forces had developed over thousands of years of galactic warfare. Trust in human judgment was a new experience. Veltar monitored the hive ship energy patterns while calculating the precise moment when the seismic charges would have maximum effect on the alien vessel hovering systems. The Xerion scientist had never attempted anything so technically complex with such enormous consequences for failure. Captain Morath coordinated communications between all team members while marveling at how humans maintained their calm determination even when facing odds that would terrify the bravest warriors from any other species. Their confidence was inspiring and slightly frightening. Chief Braktos had worked through the night combining Mithran engineering with human mining technology to create explosive devices that could generate the seismic activity needed to bring down a fortress that had never been defeated by conventional weapons. Jake led the assault team through maintenance tunnels that connected the mining areas, while Lisa coordinated the defensive positions that would protect their escape routes if the plan failed. Both humans moved with the confidence of people who had already accepted that victory was the only acceptable outcome. The Ravager drones that guarded the mining complex were expecting an attack, but not the type of coordinated assault that combined alien military tactics with human creativity and determination. The defenders were overwhelmed by strategies they had never encountered. Commander Zethkar watched in amazement as Jake improvised solutions to unexpected problems during the battle while maintaining focus on the primary objective. Human tactical flexibility was beyond anything in Valian military training and proved devastatingly effective against rigid enemy thinking. The explosives were placed according to plan, while the alien rescue team provided covering fire that kept Ravager reinforcements from interfering with the critical timing that would determine success or failure. Every second counted as the hive ship moved into the target position. Veltar announced that the seismic charges were ready to detonate, just as Captain Morath confirmed that all team members had reached safe positions for the massive explosion that would either destroy their enemies or alert every Ravager in the galaxy to their location. Chief Braktos triggered the detonation sequence that Jake had designed using mining expertise and alien technology working together to create destruction on a scale that neither species could have achieved alone. The combination of capabilities produced results that exceeded all calculations. The mountain shook with force that could be felt across the entire planet as underground explosions triggered seismic activity that destabilized the hovering systems of the massive Ravager hive ship. The fortress vessel that had seemed invincible began falling toward the planet's surface. Jake watched with satisfaction as his plan worked exactly as calculated, while Lisa coordinated the evacuation that would get everyone to safety before the hive. Ship crashed into the mining complex and exploded with enough force to eliminate every Ravager on the planet. The aliens could barely believe what they were witnessing, because no force in galactic history had ever succeeded in destroying a Ravager. Hive ship through ground-based assault tactics. Human ingenuity had accomplished the impossible using determination and creative thinking. Commander Zethkar felt his worldview changing as he realized that humans represented a new type of military capability that could revolutionize galactic defense strategies against enemies that had previously been considered undefeatable. The implications were staggering for every civilization. The explosion when the hive ship crashed created a shockwave that eliminated every Ravager on the planet, while leaving the human and alien survivors safely protected in the reinforced shelters that Jake and Lisa had prepared for this moment. Victory was complete, and Total Veltar logical mind struggled to process the fact that two humans with basic equipment had developed and executed a military strategy that succeeded where the most advanced civilizations had failed for thousands of years. The scientific revolution this represented would change everything. Captain Morath immediately began composing reports for the Galactic Council that would transform human diplomatic status from a minor species to a major military power whose tactical expertise would be desperately needed by every peaceful civilization facing Ravager threats. Chief Braktos examined the wreckage of the hive ship and found technology that could advance Mithran engineering by centuries while realizing that human creativity might be the missing element that could unlock scientific breakthroughs across multiple fields. Jake and Lisa were invited to address the Galactic Council, where their testimony about human military capabilities led to complete revision of humanity's status in the galactic community. Other species began requesting human advisors for dealing with threats that conventional forces could not handle. The story concluded with Jake returning to Earth, where he was approached by Commander Sarah Phillips of the newly formed Interstellar Defense Force. Humanity had been invited to join the galaxy's first dedicated anti-Ravager task force with Jake and Lisa as primary tactical consultants. The aliens had learned that humans did not just survive impossible odds, but found ways to turn those odds into opportunities for victory that could inspire and protect every peaceful species in the galaxy. One determined human had changed everything forever.